The alien stared, its mandibles clicking in confusion. But why was the human smiling? Around them, the void of space seemed impossibly silent, broken only by the distant hum of dying stars and the steady, confident heartbeat of the human pilot inside the cockpit. On the enemy fleet was a monolithic shadow, thousands of vessels glinting like cold steel against the black. They said it was impossible. He agreed, and then did it anyway. His hands rested lightly on the controls of the Thundersoul, a ship the size of a small moon, ancient yet unyielding. It had been humanity's secret, no, their pride. Centuries in the making, forged in fire and ambition. The aliens called it a relic, a mistake, something foolishly fragile. They had no idea what a human could do when cornered. The pilot, Commander Elias, felt the weight of every life aboard his fleet pressing down on him. Fear tried to worm its way into his chest, but he shoved it aside. Fear was a tool, not a master. He exhaled slowly, letting the rhythmic pulse of the Thundersoul's core sync with his heartbeat. In that moment, a strange clarity arrived. The humans had never been the strongest species in the galaxy. They had never been but no creature in the universe could match their stubbornness. Their refusal to give in. The enemy was moving, slow and confident, as if they already knew the outcome. Yet in the silence of the cockpit, Elias whispered a promise he had made long ago: "We will not break. Not today, not ever." Across the fleet, 1,000 human ships waited. Their engines whispered warnings of fragility, each pilot gripping their sticks tightly, eyes wide, yet burning with a fierce determination. Behind them, worlds trembled. Families clutched each other in prayer, not knowing what would happen next. Yet in every home, in every heart, there was that same quiet certainty. Humanity had faced worse, and they had survived. Elias adjusted the throttle, feeling the old ship hum in response. The Thundersoul was more than a vessel. It was a voice, a statement, a heartbeat of human audacity. Its shields flickered with light as the alien fleet drew closer, and every sensor screamed danger. Yet he smiled again, not with arrogance, but with understanding. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. He remembered the first time he had seen the Thundersoul fire, the raw beauty of it, the core igniting like a second sun. Humanity had never needed approval from the galaxy. They had never bowed to reason when the odds were stacked against them. And now, the moment had come. The aliens did not understand humor. They did not understand hope. They did not understand courage born from desperation. But Elias did, and with a soft chuckle that echoed through his helmet, he whispered, "Let's remind them." The ship surged forward. Sensors blinked with alien fire, missiles arcing toward them in deadly precision. The Thundersoul's hull shivered under impact, yet it moved with an almost human grace, dodging, weaving, a predator disguised as prey. Elias felt every vibration, every tremor. And in that chaos, he thought of his crew. Each one a soul who had chosen humanity over comfort, courage over fear. Each one willing to follow him into the abyss. And then, in the blink of an eye, the moment arrived. The Thundersoul's primary cannon lit up. Energy flowed, a brilliant, impossible blue humming like a heartbeat of stars. For a brief instant, time slowed. Even the alien fleet paused, sensing something they could not comprehend. This was not just firepower. This was intent. This was human defiance forged into a weapon. Elias closed his eyes for just a heartbeat. Memories of home, of childhood laughter, of those he had lost, swam before him. And then, with deliberate calm, he fired. The shot tore through the void. It struck the enemy fleet with a force that words could never describe. Ships that had believed themselves untouchable shattered in a cascade of light and metal. The aliens had never seen fear like this, not just survival, but fury wrapped in the relentless heartbeat of humanity. For the first time across the galaxy, every creature witnessed it. The Thundersoul had fired its first shot. And in that moment, the universe began to understand something it had long forgotten. You never, ever cross humanity. Elias opened his eyes. The silence that followed was deafening. But in that silence, a single truth resonated. Humans did not fight because they had to, they fought because they could not do otherwise. The fight had only begun. They whispered among themselves in the alien fleet. What kind of creature would fire such a shot and smile while doing it? They had studied humanity, catalogued them, predicted them, dismissed them. But none had ever seen defiance stitched so tightly into flesh and bone. None had ever felt it radiate from a single being like a pulse through the void. Inside the Thundersoul, Commander Elias didn't allow himself the luxury of celebration. The first salvo was only a warning. The real battle had just begun. His eyes scanned the holographic displays, reading every movement, every threat, every flicker of alien intent. He could feel it, the tension in the hull, the pulse of the ship, the nervous energy of every pilot behind him. Yet fear, that insidious shadow, did not take hold. Not now, not when humanity's survival was on the line. Humans were not built to surrender. They were built to endure, to fight, to innovate in the face of impossible odds. And if the galaxy wanted to underestimate them, that was fine. Let the universe think them weak. Let it think they could be controlled. It would make the lesson all the more unforgettable. "Sir," Lieutenant's voice broke through the cockpit comms, tight with adrenaline. "They're reorganizing. The larger ships are forming a wedge. Appears they're aiming to encircle us." Elias' jaw tightened. His mind worked in milliseconds, balancing probability against instinct. There were hundreds of smaller vessels around him, their pilots skilled but inexperienced. Every human pilot he had trained carried the weight of generations on their shoulders. And now the alien fleet thought they could crush it, sweep it away like dust in a solar wind. He looked out at the endless black dotted with lights, each one a potential death or a testament to courage. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Good," he said softly. "Let them try, let them see what humans are made of." He remembered the lessons of his father, a veteran of countless skirmishes. "The universe does not reward caution," his father had said. "It rewards audacity. Every decision, every movement, every heartbeat mattered. And humans, well, humans had an abundance of audacity." The Thundersoul glided forward, slicing through the alien wedge like a blade through silk. The fleet followed, synchronizing instinctively, an unspoken trust binding them than any formation could. The aliens did not understand this. They had logic, strategy, precision, but they lacked the unquantifiable element that humans carried in their hearts, the willingness to act when all the rules said they shouldn't. Energy beams arced across the void, illuminating the darkness like unnatural lightning. Ships burned, twisting metal, and screams of alarms filling the silence inside the Thundersoul. Elias felt the heat in his chest, a combination of adrenaline and the ship's core resonating through him. This was more than a fight for survival. This was proof. Proof that humanity could stand against impossible odds, that a single human could make a galaxy pause and take notice. In the chaos, a quiet thought surfaced, a memory of his mother, telling him stories of humans who survived storms no one else could endure. People who laughed while the world burned around them. That stubborn, irrational defiance had been his inheritance, and now it surged through him like wildfire. "Focus on their flanks," Elias barked. "Ignore the center, we'll draw them in." His voice returned, steadier now, respect threading through it. "Understood, sir. They're moving. Wait, they're hesitating." The alien commanders had never anticipated unpredictability of this magnitude. Their calculations failed because they had assumed humans were predictable, bound by fear. But humans thrived in fear. Humans flourished under pressure. Elias felt a thrill surge through him, not arrogance, not pride, but the pure, unshakable certainty that humanity would not yield. A warning light flashed. A missile locked onto the Thundersoul's port side. Elias tilted the ship. In one fluid motion, the missile disintegrated in the vacuum, a bright blossom of energy against blackness. He felt it then, the smallest thrill of humor. They thought they had him. They thought fear would bend him. But humans, he realized, didn't fight because they weren't scared. They fought because they refused to be controlled. And in that defiance, in that heartbeat of audacity, the universe began to remember a truth it had forgotten. The Thundersoul was not just a ship. It was a declaration. A single human could not be ignored. Humanity could not be caged. Elias exhaled slowly. For a moment the chaos softened and he looked at the stars, feeling something profound. The galaxy had not yet learned the full measure of humanity. That lesson would come. Soon. And when it did, it would burn into memory forever. The alien commanders whispered warnings among themselves, but their voices were meaningless in the void. They could feel the Thundersoul's pulse, the vibration of human audacity, yet they could not understand it. They analyzed, recalculated, adjusted, but each iteration failed. Every human move expectation. Every choice bore the quiet stubbornness that had defined humanity for. Inside the cockpit, Elias felt the strain in his chest, the weight of responsibility pressing down, but he welcomed it. Humans were not made to shrink under pressure. They thrived on it. They transformed fear into clarity, hesitation into action, doubt into resolve. He watched the alien wedge begin to crumble under the precision of human coordination, yet he knew this was only the beginning. They had underestimated one thing: human creativity. His voice came over the comms again, steadier now, almost reverent. "Sir, their flagship, it's attempting to retreat. They're reorganizing." Elias allowed himself the briefest smile. Retreat was an alien concept to humans, but they would exploit it nonetheless. There was no shame in seizing opportunity. The galaxy had assumed that caution was a virtue. Humanity had never followed the galaxy's rules. "Good," Elias said softly, almost to himself. "Let them run. Let them feel the consequences of underestimating us." He thought of the crew behind him, the hundreds of human souls who had trusted him with their lives. They were not soldiers, not in the conventional sense. They were artists of survival, sculptors of chaos, masters of improvisation, and they would not fail. Outside the cockpit, stars streaked past as the Thundersoul cut through the void, a spear of human will. Small vessels followed its wake, every human pilot synchronizing instinctively, unbound by formal orders, guided instead by shared determination. Each ship carried hope, courage, humor in the face of death, and the quiet, unspoken promise that no one would be left behind. Elias' mind drifted for a moment, and he remembered the earliest days of humanity's space-faring history. Ships had been fragile, barely capable of reaching orbit. Yet even then, humans had taken risks others would not. They had laughed at danger, endured failure, and in the process, rewritten the limits of possibility. That same indomitable spirit flowed through him now, through every decision, every heartbeat. The alien fleet recoiled as the Thundersoul and its escort of human ships pressed the advantage. Energy beams carved paths through the darkness, alien vessels exploding in spirals of metal and plasma. Elias felt the thrill of it, not because of destruction, but because of what it represented. The audacity of a species that refused to bow, the triumph of ingenuity over intimidation. But even as victory seemed near, a quiet fear threaded its way through the human fleet. The aliens were not yet defeated. They were regrouping, adapting, learning rapidly. And Elias knew that the cost of failure was unimaginable. Every life he could not save would haunt him forever. Every miscalculation could end thousands of lives in an instant. He exhaled slowly, letting the tension flow into focus. Fear had a place, it sharpened perception, honed instinct, but it would not command him. Humans did not wait for circumstances to favor them. They carved their own fate, defying probability, daring the universe to challenge their will. The flagship of the alien fleet began a maneuver that could trap the human vanguard. Sensors screamed warnings, but Elias did not flinch. He allowed the Thundersoul to drift closer, drawing the enemy in. There was a rhythm to it, a pulse only humans could perceive, a dance between risk and reward. And when the moment arrived, they would strike with precision, with defiance, with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that they could not lose. Not because the odds were favorable, but because surrender was inconceivable. "Hold formation," Elias said, voice calm yet commanding. "Wait for my mark." The crew responded instantly, their trust in him absolute. It was not just training. It was a bond forged through shared trials, through shared victories and losses, through the understanding that humans never left one another behind. That bond was stronger than any weapon, sharper than any strategy, and far deadlier than the aliens could comprehend. Time seemed to stretch, a fragile pause before the storm. The aliens did not know what awaited them. They could not perceive the resolve in the human heart, the stubborn light of audacity that burned brighter than any star. And when the Thundersoul moved again, it would be a lesson written in fire and courage, a reminder that humans were unstoppable when they refused to yield. Elias closed his eyes for a fraction of a second and allowed himself a single thought. Humanity would survive. Humanity would endure. And the galaxy would learn once and for all why you never cross them. The silence of the void carried a promise. The battle was far from over. But in that moment, every human aboard the Thundersoul knew something profound. They were more than flesh and bone. They were defiance made manifest. And nothing, not fear, not death, not the vast expanse of the galaxy, could ever change that. The void whispered with tension. The alien fleet, once confident, now moved with uncertainty, a creeping hesitation that humans could sense but not fully explain. Elias felt it in his chest, a vibration echoing the heartbeat of every pilot behind him. They were counting on him, not just to survive, but to lead, to embody that stubborn, ridiculous human defiance that no calculation could predict. A warning light blinked on the console. A pod of alien warships had broken off, aiming directly for the civilian transports at the edge of the fleet. Panic threatened to rise among the pilots, but Elias' voice cut through, calm and resolute. Divert only when necessary. Stay focused. Every life matters, every human counts. The fleet obeyed, moving with a precision that their fear. Humans were strange like that. They could laugh while facing death, make impossible decisions on instinct, and still hold loyalty as the highest law. Elias thought of each pilot as a story, each crew member a living testament to humanity's stubborn refusal to surrender. His voice came again, this time tinged with fear that she didn't dare show. "Sir, we've got a breach. A smaller ship was hit. They're calling for help." Elias gritted his teeth. He knew the cost of saving them. Every second spent diverting energy, repositioning, would risk the Thunder Soul and the rest of the fleet. Yet humans did not abandon each other. That was the difference. That was the trait no alien calculus could predict. "Prepare a rescue sweep," Elias commanded. "We do not leave our own behind, not now, not ever." The Thunder Soul dropped from hyperspace into the fray, weaving between missiles, energy blasts, and shattered debris. Elias felt every shudder as if it were part of his own body. The aliens tried to flank, to crush him, but he anticipated, improvised, and struck back. Every movement carried human intent, human audacity, the defiance of a species that refused to be cornered. A smaller vessel, battered and trembling, appeared on the sensors. Its crew was panicked, voices shouting over the comms. Elias felt a pang in his chest, not fear, not doubt, but the weight of responsibility. Humans carried empathy even in the crucible of war, a strength the aliens could never understand. "Hang on," he said softly, more to himself than to anyone else. "We've got you." The Thunder Soul's mechanical arms reached out, magnetic grapples latching onto the smaller ship. Inside, the crew stared in awe, seeing a human-driven vessel swoop into impossible danger without hesitation. They didn't understand why humans took such risks, but they felt it, something unquantifiable, unbreakable. Courage? Perhaps. Stubbornness? Definitely. Humanity? Absolutely. As they pulled the vessel to safety, Elias allowed himself a brief moment to reflect. Every human life mattered. Every laugh, every story, every stubborn heartbeat that refused to yield to fear, it all mattered. They had survived because they refused to be erased. And now, the universe would begin to understand what that meant. An explosion rippled across the battlefield, shaking the Thunder Soul. A nearby alien warship had tried to intercept, misjudging the humans' movements. The energy waves illuminated the void, painting it with blue-white fire. Elias' hands tightened on the controls. Each blast, each victory, each loss reminded him of something fundamental. Humanity did not survive because they were the strongest. They survived because they would not quit. The rescued crew murmured their thanks, but Elias did not respond. Words were unnecessary. Humans understood deeds more than speech. The galaxy might not yet comprehend them, but humans always understood each other. Then a flicker on the sensors caught his eye. A massive alien battleship, larger than any they had faced, slowly maneuvering into position. Its presence was oppressive, almost suffocating. The alien commanders had regrouped, and now they sought to crush the human fleet entirely. Elias felt the tension coil in his chest, a mix of dread and anticipation. He knew the odds. Every calculation suggested failure. Yet humans did not act based on odds, they acted on principle, on instinct, on the unyielding certainty that surrender was impossible. He spoke quietly, almost reverently. "We will show them what humans are made of, and when they remember this day, they will remember why you never, ever cross humanity." The fleet prepared for the next assault. Every pilot, every crew member, every human soul aboard their ships braced for impact. Fear existed, yes, but it was a tool, not a master. Humans had always fought while afraid, laughed while trembling, endured when others would crumble. And they would do it again because that was what humans did. The Thundersoul's engines roared to life, its hull glowing with anticipation. It moved forward not just as a weapon but as a statement, a heartbeat of defiance, a pulse of hope, a beacon of human audacity. The aliens might have thought themselves invincible, but humans were not invincible. They were unpredictable. They were relentless. They were unstoppable. And the galaxy would soon learn once more why crossing humanity was a mistake no being could survive to repeat. The massive alien battleship loomed ahead, its hull black as the void, its energy shields humming with lethal anticipation. Every sensor screamed warnings, every pilot held their breath, and yet Elias felt that familiar spark, the impossible audacity that humans carried in their bones. Fear was present, yes, but it was just another tool, a lens through which courage sharpened. "Status report," Elias demanded, voice calm but precise. "Shields at 60%, replied. "We've taken losses, 4 ships destroyed, 6 badly damaged. The civilians are holding, but only just." Elias exhaled slowly, letting the numbers sink in. Every human life lost was a wound in his heart, yet he could not let grief paralyze him. Humans never did. They transformed pain into determination, doubt into strategy, and despair into defiance. The alien flagship shifted, massive weapons bristling, preparing to crush the human fleet. Its firepower was overwhelming, calculated, precise, but it did not account for unpredictability. It did not account for stubbornness. It did not account for humans. "Listen," Elias said quietly, almost to himself. "They think fear can control us. They don't understand that we create fear for them. That's the difference." A young pilot, barely 20 years old, glanced nervously at him through the comms. "Sir, are we really going to do this? Can we actually take it down?" Elias paused. The answer was not certainty, it was principle. Humans had never needed certainty to act. "We're not just fighting to survive," he said. "We're fighting to remind the galaxy that humans cannot be underestimated. That's enough." The Thundersoul surged forward, leading the fleet into the heart of the alien formation. Energy beams tore through space, alien ships twisting and exploding in brilliant arcs of fire and metal. Elias felt the vibrations of the hull, every shudder a heartbeat, every hum a chorus of human courage. Yet amidst the chaos, a pang of guilt struck him. Humans were brilliant, stubborn, fearless, but they were not invulnerable. Each lost ship, each life snuffed out, weighed on him like gravity. He had made a silent promise, no human left behind. And yet in this vast, unrelenting void, promises were fragile things. A distress call came from a damaged vessel, its voice trembling. "Commander, we can't hold, we need." "Hold on," Elias snapped, more forceful than he intended. The Thundersoul twisted through the battlefield, dodging energy blasts with impossible precision. "We do not leave anyone behind, not now, not ever." The crew cheered through comms, their voices a mix of fear and exhilaration. Humans could laugh in the face of death, improvise when logic failed, and endure when despair threatened to crush them. That was their essence, their core, their indomitable spark. But the flagship was relentless. It pivoted, massive energy cannons charging, intent on obliterating the Thundersoul. Sensors flared, warning of imminent collision. Elias clenched his jaw, feeling the full weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The lives of hundreds, perhaps thousands, were in his hands. "Brace for impact," he whispered not to himself but to the entire human fleet. "And remember, fear is temporary, courage is eternal." The Thundersoul surged, weaving through a storm of fire and destruction. Every movement was a gamble, every decision a defiance of probability. Humans did not fight because they were guaranteed victory. They fought because surrender was impossible. A flash of light tore through the darkness, and a smaller alien strike vessel collided with one of the human escorts. Elias felt it like a punch to the chest, every life a tangible weight he could not ignore. Yet he pressed forward, maneuvering the Thundersoul into a position that reason, expectation, the odds. Then came the moment. A weak point in the flagship's energy shields, a flaw the aliens had not predicted. Elias seized it. The Thundersoul's main cannon charged, energy coalescing into a brilliant, blinding pulse. Every pilot, every human aboard held their breath. When he fired, the shot tore through the flagship with the force of humanity itself. Relentless, unyielding, undeniable. The explosion rippled across the void, a reminder that humans were not just participants in the galaxy, they were a force to be reckoned with. Silence followed, heavy and profound. The flagship was crippled, its firepower neutralized, but Elia's did not exhale yet. The cost was clear and the lesson had just begun. Humans had survived, yes, but they had done so by embracing their essence: courage, stubbornness, humor in the face of terror, loyalty to one another, and an unshakable refusal to bow. Elias closed his eyes for a heartbeat, letting the gravity of the moment settle in. Humanity had not just survived, they had reminded the galaxy why it was a mistake to ever cross them. And yet he knew the war was far from over. The battlefield was a graveyard of shattered ships and drifting debris. Stars glimmered coldly in the void, indifferent to the lives lost, the courage displayed, the defiance written across every human face. Commander Elias stared out from the cockpit of the Thundersoul, his jaw tight, his hands steady. Victory had come, but at a cost he could feel in every fiber of his being. "Status?" he asked, voice calm but measured, aware that the crew hung on every word. His voice was steady but softer now. "We've lost 20 ships, more than we expected. The flagship is down, but the enemy fleet, they're retreating. For now." For now, Elias echoed the words in his mind. That for now was the shadow of the war yet to come. The aliens would return, stronger, smarter, hungrier for revenge. And yet, despite the loss, a quiet pride swelled within him. Humans had survived an impossible trial, and they had done so with their essence intact. Fear had existed, yes, but it had not broken them. Courage, stubbornness, loyalty, humor, they had all been on display, radiant, undeniable. A young pilot spoke up over comms, voice trembling. "Sir, some of us didn't think we'd make it, but we did, you did." Elias exhaled slowly. He could feel their relief, their exhaustion, their awe. Humans never needed reassurance, they needed proof, and proof had been written in fire and light across the void. "They'll remember this," he said softly, almost to himself. "Not just the aliens, the galaxy." His voice, quiet now, carried a note of wonder. "Do you think they'll ever understand?" Elias looked out at the vast emptiness, at the wreckage drifting in silence. He thought of home, of families huddled together, of laughter in darkened rooms, of stories told around fires that had never gone out. That essence, that stubborn pulse of humanity, was what no alien could ever comprehend. "No," he said finally. "They will not understand, not fully, but they will learn, and that is enough." A hush fell across the comms. Humans, despite their exhaustion, felt the weight of survival, the enormity of what they had done. They had faced annihilation and stared it in the eye, and in that gaze they had not flinched, they had smiled. Elias' mind drifted to the lives lost, the faces he could not forget. Every casualty was a reminder of the fragility of existence, yet also a testament to human bravery. Humans did not fight because it was safe. They fought because it was necessary, because their principles demanded it, because the spark of defiance burned too brightly to be extinguished. The Thundersoul floated through the battlefield, its hull but unbroken, a monument to human audacity. Elias allowed himself a moment of reflection. The galaxy had seen a force it could not anticipate, a species that laughed in the face of death, that endured when all odds were stacked against them, that refused to yield even when survival seemed impossible. A sudden alert on the console drew his attention, a transmission from one of the civilian transports, weak but persistent. "Commander, thank you. We didn't think anyone would come." Elias smiled, soft and quiet, more to himself than to anyone else. Humans did not save others for glory. They did it because it was the right thing, because leaving someone behind was not an option, because courage was not measured in victories, but in the willingness to act when no one else could. He thought of the Thundersoul, of its first shot that had changed the course of the battle. That single act of defiance had rippled across the galaxy, announcing humanity's presence, its stubborn brilliance, its unstoppable spirit. And yet he knew it was only the beginning. The galaxy would test them again, it would challenge them. But humans would endure, humans would adapt. Humans would survive. Elia's hand hovered over the controls, a pause before the next move. The alien fleet had retreated, but the war was far from over. Every pulse of energy, every calculation of probability, every distant star reminded him that this was only the first lesson. Humanity had survived. Humanity had struck first, and the galaxy had begun to learn why crossing humans was a mistake that no one could afford to repeat. "Set course for regroup," he said finally. "We'll tend to the wounded, repair the fleet, and prepare. They'll come back, they always do, but so will we, and next time they will not forget." The crew responded with quiet determination. Humans never hesitated when action was needed, never doubted when courage was required, never faltered when loyalty demanded it. And as the Thundersoul led the surviving fleet through the silent expanse, Elias allowed himself a fleeting thought, almost a prayer. Humanity was alive, unbroken, and unstoppable. And one day, the galaxy would understand the cost of underestimating them. Word of the Thundersoul's first salvo spread faster than light itself. Across countless star systems, transmissions buzzed through abandoned comm relays, warning networks, and covert listening posts. Humans were not to be underestimated. The aliens had learned the hard way, and now whispers of fear threaded through their fleets. Inside the Thundersoul, Commander Elias felt the weight of that knowledge. Victory had been earned, yes, but the galaxy was vast, and danger lurked everywhere. He studied the stars ahead, each one a potential battlefield, each one a silent witness to the stubborn heartbeat of humanity. "Sir," his voice came over the comms, careful but tinged with awe, "we're detecting new fleets responding to the flagship's destruction. They're moving cautiously, almost reverently." Elias allowed himself a brief smile. Reverence. For humans. The galaxy was starting to understand what humans had always known about themselves. Courage was not measured in strength alone, but in the audacity to act when survival seemed impossible. "They will come for us," he said, voice steady, almost contemplative. "And when they do, they will remember exactly what happens when humans refuse to yield." The fleet moved with coordinated precision, a living testament to human adaptability. Every pilot, every crew member, carried in their movements the echoes of generations who had faced impossible odds. Humanity's strength was not in weapons alone. It was in ingenuity, in stubbornness, in the quiet defiance that no calculation could predict. Elias thought back to the battlefield, to the flash of the Thundersoul's first shot, to the bravery of those who had followed him into impossible danger. They had survived not because of raw power, but because humans could improvise, could endure, could smile while facing annihilation. And now, the universe had seen that defiance writ large across the stars. A young pilot's voice broke through the comms, hesitant but full of wonder. "Sir, do you think they'll ever understand us?" Elias considered the question carefully. Understanding was not necessary. Fear, respect, caution, those were enough. Humans had never needed approval to act. They had never relied on the galaxy to recognize their worth. They simply endured, they simply fought, they simply survived. And in that they were unstoppable. "They'll try," he said softly, "but they will never truly understand. Humans do not conform, humans do not submit, humans persist." The Thundersoul surged forward, its hull gleaming with the quiet pride of a species that refused to bow. Behind it, the fleet followed, each ship a heartbeat in a larger pulse of defiance. The galaxy had underestimated them for that mistake would not be repeated. Across the void, alien fleets moved cautiously, hesitant to strike first. Their algorithms failed to predict the unpredictable. Their strategies faltered before the audacity of humans who improvised, who adapted, who turned fear into fuel. And every time the aliens hesitated, humanity advanced, carving a reputation that would ripple across star systems for generations. Elias allowed himself a moment of reflection. Humanity's survival had always been improbable, yet their persistence had never wavered. They had endured storms, wars, plagues, and catastrophes that should have erased them. And now, the galaxy was beginning to understand the truth humans had always known. Courage, stubbornness, and loyalty were forces the universe could not calculate. "Prepare for engagement," Elias commanded. "We'll need to show them again what it means to underestimate humans." The fleet obeyed, their movements a seamless blend of instinct and training. Humans did not simply follow orders. They anticipated, adapted, and executed with a creativity no alien system could model. And in that, Elias saw the larger picture. The galaxy might fear humans now, but humans feared nothing more than leaving each other behind. That bond, that shared stubborn heartbeat, was humanity's true weapon. As the Thundersoul led the way toward the approaching fleets, Elias allowed a single, quiet thought to echo in his mind. Humans had survived countless impossibilities. They had expectations, challenged authority, and endured every trial the universe had thrown at them. And in that persistence lay a truth the galaxy would never forget. You never ever cross humanity. Even as the first beams of alien energy lit up the void, Elias felt a fierce clarity. Humanity's place in the stars was not given. It was earned through courage, through defiance, through the stubborn refusal to bow to any force, no matter how vast or powerful. And with the Thundersoul blazing the path forward, humanity's message was clear. The galaxy would remember this day. The galaxy would remember the audacity of humans. And every being, every fleet, every world that dared to challenge them would learn exactly why crossing humanity was a mistake no one survived to repeat. The void stretched endlessly before the Thundersoul, but it no longer felt empty. It was alive with tension, with purpose, with the heartbeat of a species the galaxy was only beginning to understand. Commander Elias could feel it in his chest, in the vibrations of the hull, in the subtle hum of the engines. Humanity had survived the impossible, and now the universe was watching. The alien fleets had regrouped, larger now, more cautious, but no less determined. They had learned fear, hesitation, the unpredictability of humans, and that was precisely the point. Humans did not fight because it was safe. Humans did not fight because it was logical. Humans fought because surrender was unthinkable, and they would show the galaxy once and for all exactly what that meant. Sir's voice broke through, tight but resolute. We've calculated the strike pattern. We can hit them all at once, but it's risky. The fleet will be exposed. Elias' eyes narrowed. Risky was the language humans spoke best. Courage was not the absence of fear, it was acting despite it. Prepare the Thundersoul, he said, and tell every ship to follow my lead. Humanity does not hesitate. The fleet shifted, an intricate dance of metal and light, weaving between alien fire with a grace only humans could achieve. Every pilot, every crew member was a note in a symphony of defiance. Fear was present, yes, but it had no dominion over them. They were audacity made flesh, resilience made steel. Elias thought of the countless lives at stake, of the laughter and tears of humanity across the stars, of every human who had faced impossible odds and refused to yield. And he smiled, not with arrogance but with quiet certainty. Humans had survived everything, and the universe would now witness the full measure of that defiance. The alien flagship loomed again, larger and more imposing than before. Sensors lit up with warnings, but Elias ignored them. This was not about numbers. This was about essence. The Thundersoul surged forward, its engines screaming, every vibration a heartbeat of human stubbornness, every pulse of energy a testament to their spirit. Then came the moment. The Thundersoul fired, its main cannon blazing with light that seemed to carve through the very fabric of space. It struck the flagship with precision and fury, a combination of courage, ingenuity, and relentless defiance that no alien mind could have anticipated. The explosion rolled across the fleet like a wave of inevitability. Smaller vessels twisted and fell, not from fear alone, but from the realization that they faced something the galaxy had never truly measured. Humanity's audacity. Elias felt the vibrations, the heat, the raw power coursing through the Thundersoul. And yet amidst the destruction he felt something else, quiet, profound, enduring hope. Humanity had survived, yes, but they had not lost their essence. They had not abandoned courage, loyalty, humor, or stubbornness. They had fought, and in doing so, reminded the universe of a truth older than stars. Humans cannot be subdued. Humans cannot be tamed. Humans cannot be crossed. The surviving alien fleets pulled back, hesitation etched into every movement. Fear was now their companion, respect their reluctant teacher. Across the galaxy, news would spread, whispers would travel, and every being, every commander, every world would learn. Underestimate humans at your own peril. Inside the Thundersoul, Elias exhaled, allowing himself a brief human moment of relief. He looked out at the stars, vast and indifferent, and thought of the generations of humans who had come before. Every sacrifice, every laugh, every defiance in the face of annihilation, it all led here. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. Humanity had made the galaxy remember. "Set course for home," he said softly, voice carrying the weight of certainty and pride. "We fight again, yes, but today we remind the universe who we are." His voice carried awe and reverence. "We are humans, sir." "Yes," Elias whispered, "and that is enough." The Thundersoul surged forward, engines glowing, a beacon of human spirit blazing across the void. Behind it, the fleet followed, but unbroken. Across the galaxy, beings would speak in hushed tones of what they had witnessed. A species that laughed in the face of annihilation. A species that fought when survival seemed impossible. A species that refused to yield. And somewhere in the deepest reaches of the void, the universe paused, acknowledging an unshakable truth. You never ever cross humanity. Elias closed his eyes, allowing the silence to wash over him. In that silence was a promise, a heartbeat, a declaration. Humans had endured. Humans would endure. And no force, no strategy, no cosmic authority could ever erase the defiance that defined them. The stars stretched on endlessly, but humanity's fire burned brighter, and the galaxy would never forget.